The fact is that every American should be very concerned about the fact that the premier law enforcement agency, the FBI, has been doing this sort of subterranean influence operation on the social media giants.
Not only were there 80 FBI agents obviously operating and looking into these Twitter so-called threats, but then there's also now revelations that there were Justice Department employees that actually went over to Twitter to work there, embedded into Twitter.
And ex-FBI employees, including the general counsel of the FBI, who left the FBI and went to work at Twitter.
That this cabal of FBI agents have so much influence. And we're only talking about Twitter. We don't know. I mean, we've seen a glimpse with Zuckerberg. So we kind of have a feeling that this might be transposed across multiple multiple social media platforms and probably mainstream platforms as well.
Well, the news certainly isn't stopping when it comes to these Twitter files. And now we know that it wasn't just the FBI. It was also the CIA, the Pentagon, the State Department, all had relationships with Twitter and other social media platforms as well. So what do you think the nature of these relationships were?
Well, clearly the relationship was to suppress free speech. I mean, ultimately, it was under the guise of reducing foreign influence, I guess, in American elections, especially in 2020. But you just saw the DHS, DOD, CIA, FBI, and state governments and the Democrat National Committee all had a door into Twitter that they could moderate accounts that they disagreed with or felt were too effective in communicating an opposing viewpoint to what they felt should be on the platform. And, you know, Twitter was clearly the right hand of the federal government in moderating speech.
And I thought that YouTube and Sundar Pichai made it very clear when he was in congressional hearings in the U.S. He said he wasn't going to allow anything to go on YouTube that contradicted Anthony Fauci. And that seemed to set the tone for what mainstream media covered. And it seemed to have had an overlap effect in Canada. So it may be just that everybody was following the lead of these tech giants. But if there's something more there, we should know the answer to that.
Now, what's interesting of what Elon Musk has done, and he has done a great service to this country, in my view, by releasing this information. He's confirmed that the FBI paid social media companies to help them deal with what they call disinformation, which most of us call censorship, but also that they were in continual communication, as were other agencies, targeting specific citizens and specific posters to be banned or suspended. That really does smack of an agency relationship, and that could violate the First Amendment.
In other countries, this has been going on for a long time, where state-controlled media censors all information that is not aligned with the leading political party in power. And that's sadly what we're seeing right here. Look at the amount of misinformation put out by the government itself, by public health officials, ignoring natural immunity, that the vaccine has a risk-benefit analysis that strongly favors vaccination in young, healthy children. We've never seen that data. That closing schools would reduce transmission in young people, that the vaccine works in 6-month-old babies, or that fluvoxamine was ineffective. There's a long list of misinformation from the government. They just wanted to change the narrative, and that's the sad part about its impact on science.
Yeah, it certainly is.
When you think about it, most of what the experts have told us in these past several years is totally wrong. They said vaccines would stop infection. They didn't. And they said they were better than natural immunity. They aren't. They said masks don't harm kids. They do.
How do you see the conditions for free speech developing in Europe today?
It's dangerous for people who care for freedom, because allowing these big tech companies to control who can and can't speak without any qualification to do so, without any trial, without any justice, without any jury. Yeah.
And without the users knowing the guidelines.
What guidelines? Yeah, it's like, what guidelines? Like, we have laws.
It's arbitrary.
We have laws that prevent hate speech. Every country does, yeah, in Europe. We don't need your little guidelines on hate speech. No one needs it. If someone breaks the law on your platform, they can be prosecuted by the police. That's the way our society works. We have laws that have been introduced by elected officials who have decided those laws, who have changed those laws. Not for you, some big tech Silicon Valley company to come in, you are the law. You're now the law on free speech. You're now the law on what can and can't be said. And but again, it's far out of our hands. I'd say the Danish government, on this issue of you being removed from social media, say, of Lars being removed, of basically your whole board of Free Speech Society being deleted, not for promoting me, not for promoting any of my views, not even talking about my views, but promoting free speech, then that is, it's like no one could watch my speech yesterday and say there's any hate speech in it. So why have you all been deleted? And your government should be summoning Facebook in a similar way that I showed you yesterday. My government summons in YouTube. Your government should be summoned in Facebook saying, answer this question. How are you deleting members of our society, of our people, for their views?